How are you feeling?
Well,
How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you here?
That's difficult to answer.
Would you give me some idea?
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them. I am trying to do with my life something which few people try to do, and this influences my thinking and consequently my actions.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
is the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final side. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
Und weil der Mensch ein Mensch ist, drum braucht er was zum Essen, bitte sehr. Es macht ihn ein Geschwätz nicht satt, das schafft kein Essen her. Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, wo der Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeit einheimst und weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist. Und weil der Mensch ein Mensch ist, drum hat der Stiefel im Gesicht nicht gern. Er will unter sich keinen Sklaven sehen und über sich keinen Herrn. Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, wo mein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeiter einheimst und weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist. Und weil der Prolet ein Prolet ist, drum wird ihn kein anderer befreien. Es kann die Befreiung der Arbeiter nur das Werk der Arbeiter sein. Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, und ein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeiter einheimst und weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist.
Здравствуйте, comrades. Welcome to Socialism Saturday. Socialism Saturday is where we watch the real far left, the furthest of the far left, the most dystopian of the dystopian, because we have this crazy idea that in order to understand the true enemy, and the true enemy is the radical revolutionary socialists who are pushing every crazy idea in the world today, in order to understand and defeat the real enemy, you actually have to listen to them. Crazy idea, I know. Crazy idea. If you want to know where every crazy thing the left pushes into our world comes from, it's the people we watch on Socialism Saturday. If you want to know where critical race theory and anti-racism in schools comes from, it's the people we watch on Socialism Saturday. If you want to know who's transing the kids, gender ideology, queer theory, it's the people we watch on Socialism Saturday. If you want to know who's orchestrating the campus protests, who's going to be orchestrating the protests at the inauguration, guess what? It's the people we watch on Socialism Saturday. If you want to know who's arguing to abolish the police, defund the police, get rid of the police entirely, it's the people we watch on Socialism Saturday. If you want to know who's pushing reproductive justice and environmental justice, it's the people we watch on Socialism Saturday. If you want to know who wants open borders immigration, because that's about to become a big issue for us, guess what? It's the people we watch on Socialism Saturday. Literally every crazy idea that we have to deal with has an origin point, and that is the radical revolutionary socialist left in America. And that's why we take a couple of hours each week to watch and listen to The Real Enemy. And listen, guys, we're already getting some trolls in the chat. Like this person who I've never seen before. I did try to F her. She was married. I moved on her like a bitch. I couldn't get there, and she was married. Donald Trump, the greatest hero any Republican ever has. Well, guess what, T? Guess what? We're not Republicans. At least I'm not. There's probably some Republicans in the chat. I'm not a Republican. I didn't vote for Trump. I, in fact, told people to not vote for Trump. So who do you think you're fooling, bro? Where the fuck do you think you are? What exactly are you doing here? Let us know. We don't care about your issues about Trump, bro. Many of us didn't even vote for him. We're not leftists either. We didn't vote for Kamala Harris. We didn't vote for the Democrats. We're certainly not socialists or communists. We're anti-communists here. We're not pro-communism. We're anti-communism. See, it's always an IQ test on Socialism Saturday. It's always an IQ test to see who shows up here and doesn't know what they've walked into. They either think that we're all communists or socialists, or they think that we're all Trump supporters. And the truth is we're neither. Fun times. Fun times. Yeah, Trump won't change anything, so it won't matter. Yeah, that's actually true. Trump is not going to change anything. That is 100% true. 100% true. And that's why we have to spend our time watching and listening to the radical revolutionary far left, because if you think that Donald Trump is going to save you from the real problem that he's about to encounter on his inauguration day, and I wrote about that on the Substack this week, I'll show you the article, you're out of your ever-loving mind, all right? You're out of your mind. In fact, actually, let me just show you this right now, because I actually put this up on my Substack, which is Carlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com, just the other day. Over here, leftist groups organize to protest Trump's inauguration. You can find a full list of all the different groups that are organizing not only to protest Trump's inauguration in Washington, D.C., but are also holding events all over the country, including a lot of Antifa groups. So these festivals of resistance, there are actually festivals of resistance. Let me show you the website. This is from CrimethInc. CrimethInc is the Antifa publishing company. Well, company such as it is, I suppose. The Antifa publishing organization. They've got actually a list of festivals of resistance that are taking place all over the country. We'll go see the list. Starting soon, we got them in Chicago, Sacramento, Atlanta, Brooklyn, Illinois, North Carolina, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Portland, Oregon, Providence, Rhode Island. Oh, that's new. I'm within driving distance of Providence. Maybe I'm going to go there. Richmond, Virginia, another one in North Carolina, Indiana. If you think that this stuff is just happening in blue states, there you go, Indiana. Tampa Bay, Florida. Oh, Florida. I thought this was only happening in blue states, and you're telling me Antifa's holding an event in Florida? Wow. So you can find out all that and much, much more over on the Substack. Those are not the only groups that are going to be protesting the Trump inauguration. Party for Socialism and Liberation, the People's Forum, Code Pink, Al Sharpton's going to be there. I'm less worried about Al Sharpton, if I'm honest about it. There's going to be a lot of pro-immigration groups, anti-borders, because abolishing borders is one of the things that the far left wants to do. They believe borders are an enforcement mechanism of capitalism. So there are going to be a lot of people that are coming out against Trump's so-called mass deportations. So that's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting time. And listen, we're in a lull right now. We're in a lull. Because first of all, it's cold out. No one wants to protest when it's cold out. But once Trump takes office, we're going to see the far left shoot out like a cannon. They've been planning for it ever since right after the election. And so everyone's taking a little break right now. It's Christmas. It's New Year's. If you don't see a difference between the left and the right, then what you need to do, because this is the first time I've ever seen you in my chat, what you need to do is to stop talking, to shut your mouth, to stop chatting in nonsense, and you need to sit back and listen. If you really don't see a difference between the left and the right, that means that you're doing more talking than you're doing listening. And we're going to need you to change that if you're going to stay in my chat. So that's going to be my recommendation. Shut it. Go get a snack and a drink. We're going to be here a while. And listen. And then I promise you, if you do that simple task, you will see a difference between the left and the right rather quickly. So that list is over on the Substack right now. You can also find the latest episode of the Actively Unwoke podcast where I talk about, no. This is not what I meant when I said, shut your fucking mouth and listen. What I meant is stop spamming my chat with things that are not relevant. We do not act like unhinged retards here. My recommendation, if you want to maintain your ability to chat in at all, is that you stop talking and start listening. And this is the last fucking time I'm going to say it, because I don't even know who you are and you're already pissing me off. So, we're getting started early today. I know. Getting started early today. We're already, no one else get on the bus to Retardia. No. No one else do that. Sit down. I haven't even told you guys what we're going to watch yet, and I'm already yelling at people. Okay? So, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, here we go again. All right! Now you just got banned. Goodbye. We don't need to hear from you anymore. See, that's how we handle things on this stream, guys. That's how we handle things on this stream. There is no unhinged retardia in the chat. And if you're going to come in here and you're just going to whine and complain and spam my chat with nonsense, we're going to give you a couple warnings. You'll notice that person got a couple warnings. And then we're going to remove you. If you are incapable of shutting your mouth and listening, then we're just going to remove you from the situation. Now, isn't that nicer? Isn't that nicer? Quiet. Peace. Quiet. No spamming in the chat. So much nicer already. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let me show you what we're going to be watching today. So I found a new YouTube channel. And I found it because this video was recommended to me. This video is, this video came up yesterday. It already has 3,000 views, honestly, so just for like a socialist channel, that's actually a lot, right? So this video is called How to Transform Capitalism to Socialism. Okay, sounds pretty straightforward. Now, whenever I see new YouTube channels that I haven't actually interacted with before, I'm always a little bit skeptical, to be honest, because a lot of people on the internet think that people like Hassan Piker or Vosh or even Jackson Hinkle and his American Communist Party, which is actually kind of a joke, like they think that because you're on social media and you say you're a communist or a socialist, that actually means you're a communist or a socialist. I have answered this. Listen, I like you. You ask good questions, but you're asking questions that I've literally already answered several times now. So go to the Substack, read the article I just pointed out. That's going to be your best first step, I promise you. Asking me a question I've already answered is not a way to ingratiate yourself to me, bro. It's just really not. Go read the piece that I already wrote for you for free on the Substack. That'll answer your question. So, back to this. We're already stepping into the lands of Retardia today. I can see how this is going to go. Back to this. Whenever I find a new YouTube channel where someone purports to be talking about communism or socialism, I'm always a little bit skeptical because I've been tracking the far left for a while now. I know who the big players are. I know who the key activists are. And so anytime I see new names pop up, especially when they're like, they look to be doing like a content creator thing, I'm always kind of like, is this person really a socialist or a communist, or are they just saying that? Because you look at someone like Hassan Piker is not a socialist or communist. You look at someone like Vosh is not a socialist or a communist. Like, I'm sorry, like, they're just not. They're not respected at all on the left. They don't do anything on the left. They don't behave like leftists do. They are grifters on the internet. You look at someone like Jackson Hinkle in the American Communist Party. That's not real. That's not taken seriously on the left at all. I've actually gotten in arguments with people who are obsessed with content creators about this. They say, Carlin, the American Communist Party is the biggest thing to ever happen on the left. And I'm saying, well, why aren't any of the other leftist groups even talking about it then? Because if it was actually the biggest thing to ever happen on the left, other groups would be talking about it. And instead, they're kind of ignored or they're ridiculed. They don't go to any of the protests. They're not involved in any of the organizing. It's not taken seriously. They aren't publishing anything. They're only doing stuff to create drama and nonsense on social media. So this is a very long-winded way of saying that I'm always skeptical when I see new kind of people pop up that I haven't heard of before. Not that I know everything, because I don't know absolutely everything, but it's just a little, you have to view things with a little bit of caution, right? So I found this video and I was like, well, this seems like it could be something good to watch. And then I started to investigate it a little bit. And this video is based off of this book called Marxism and Politics, Essays on Critical Theory and the Party. Capitalism is a revolutionary situation of the last stage of prehistory and the potential possibility for freedom, or else it is just what Hegel said history has always been, the slaughter bench of everything good and virtuous humanity has ever achieved. Marxism defined itself as critical self-consciousness of this task of socialism and Isn't that interesting? Marxism defined itself as the critical self-consciousness of this task of socialism in capitalism, but this has been eclipsed by the mere moral condemnation of catastrophe. This happened as a result of Marxism's own failure over 100 years ago to make good on the crisis. The pattern has repeated itself since then in ever more obscure ways. The essays by Chris collected here span the time of the millennium's left's abortive search to rediscover a true politics for socialism in the history of Marxism, the attempted recovery of the last revolutionary tradition. Crouton's participation as a teacher alongside this journey into the heart of Marxism was guided by the millennial investigation into controversial, divisive figures such as Lenin, Luxemburg, Trotsky, Lukács, Adorno, the Frankfurt School, and Marx itself. The question of a political party for socialism loomed large, but was abandoned. So this actually looks interesting, doesn't it? And then I started looking into this organization, and it's called Sublimation Media, and they have a press. They actually publish books. They have a magazine as well. They also have a community. Let's look at some of the other books they're publishing. Look at this. Beyond Family, a case for another regime of reproduction, sexuality, and kinship. The Death of the Millennial Left. Interventions, 2006 to 2022. The Strange Death of American Exceptionalism. This is the one we're going to read here. This is China Melville. We've listened to this person on the stream before. And Emergency Capitalism. Kind of seems, yeah, this is a new publisher we haven't heard of before. Exactly. This is a new publisher we haven't heard of before. So, and I mean, like, the channel looks a little content creatory, if I'm honest about it. The channel looks a little cringe. Postmodernism is bad for you. You know, they've got some kind of weird content on here. I'm not really quite sure what to make of it, but let's just give it a try. Let's give it a chance. We're going to watch this video tonight and we're going to talk about it. So that is what is on deck for Socialism Saturday tonight, the first Socialism Saturday of 2025. I'm really glad everyone here is joining me. Let me just pop out the Rumble chat. Hey, we've got some people in the Rumble chat. Shout out to Rumble. Shout out to Friendly Clips, who made a nice clip of me yesterday. I really did appreciate that. Shout out Groiper73. Appreciate you guys over on Rumble. Guys, please make sure you subscribe to whatever platform you're watching on, whether that be YouTube or Rumble or even X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Before we get into it, I just want to remind everyone that the very best way you can support the work I'm doing is by heading over to my Substack. Again, that is Carlin, KARLYN.substack.com, and signing up for a membership for $8 a month, $80 a year. I am 100% grassroots funded by you guys. Signing up for a monthly or annual gift allows me to have reliable income that I know is going to be there, so I can spend more time researching socialism on the internet, teaching socialism on the internet, doing all the stuff that I do, all the stuff required to kind of keep the wheels on the wagon, as it were. So that is the very best way you can support me, and I really do appreciate it. I've got some big goals that I'm working on this year. I do hope you guys will be a part of those goals. If you want to know what those goals are, you can head over to this article right here. The year ahead, my plan for 2025 to expose, educate, and fight back against the far left. You'll see that I'm focusing in on 2 projects this year. One is the Better Discourses Substack, which of course is carlin.substack.com. The Better Discourses thing is just kind of a joke to troll James Lindsay a little bit. It's my personal Substack. I'll call it whatever I want. When you sign up as a member on there, you get access to weekly Zoom calls with me on Mondays. You get access to my supporter Discord. There are multiple movie nights every single week. We do movie nights on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. There's also a writers group on Thursday. There's also other stuff going on in the supporter Discord, so you get access to all of that. You also get access to my Inner Circle podcast. You get access to premium articles on my main Substack, and you get 10% off in the Unwoke Art merch store, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm also focusing in on the Red Menace Collective, which is a separate thing. These are 2 separate products. If you have to think of them as products, think of them that way. They're 2 separate products. There's 2 separate fees. There's 2 separate bundles of perks. So the Red Menace Collective is redmenacecollective.substack.com, and this is where I am publishing the chapters of my next book before it actually becomes a book. So I'm writing my next book, hope to finish it within the next couple weeks, get it up for pre-sale and up for sale. I wanted to have it done a little bit sooner than that, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. So, and I always like to think that I have things done faster than I actually have them done. I'm like one of those people at my mouth, at my what is it? My eyes are often bigger than my stomach or whatever. I think I can eat the whole thing, and then I can only eat a little bit of it. Anyway, Daniel, in with the big super chat right off the bat. Happy Red New Year. Thank you for all your incredible work. Go burn the like button. Hey, I love it, Daniel. Thank you for starting us off really, really strong. I do love it when we meet our $100 goal at the very beginning of the show. Daniel, I really appreciate you because I see you out there on Twitter. You're posting stuff all the time. You're tagging me. You're tagging the Better Discourses account. You always show up. Great member of the community. Really, really appreciate the support, bro. Thank you for starting the new year off right. And yes, we have already reached our super chat goal for today with 1 super chat. See, sometimes it just takes 1. Anyway, guys, in addition to that, you can read the chapters of my book that called Re-Education, the Definitive Anti-Communist Guide for Decoding the Left before it actually becomes a book. That's over on redmenacecollective.substack.com, and that's where you fund my books. Book publishing is going to be a very big part of my year. I have 3 different books planned with the possibility of a 4th, but at least 3 is what we're shooting for this year, because now I'm self-publishing, so I can write as many books as I want. Last way you can support the work I'm doing is by heading over to the Unwoke Art store, which is unwokeart.com, where we are currently doing a 25% off sale on the Red Menace Collective merchandise, to include all that cool Plague Doctor stuff. Got some other symbols as well. We also have the McCarthy is Right series. All my merch with those designs are going to be on sale until tomorrow at midnight. And so you can go in, you can see what type of merch I have it on: hats, shot glasses, pint glasses, stickers, hoodies, t-shirts. You can get them in different colors, including black, gold, red, and a whitish color. Not exactly white, because anytime you have exactly white on something, you just spill something on it. So we got a little bit of an off-white thing there. Anyway, that's over at unwokeart.com. The sale on all this merch ends tomorrow at midnight, so get your orders in now, because then it goes back up to normal price, and you'll have to pay more for it. And that'll be your own fault, because you waited. Anyway, guys, before we get into our video, I've got a couple orders of business. First of all, the mystery has been solved. The mystery of Adrian Dittmann has, in fact, been solved. Now, I've been saying for a while that Adrian Dittmann was going to be one of three things. Either it was going to be Elon Musk himself, or it was going to be a psychotically obsessed super fan of Elon Musk, or it was going to be some sort of AI thing. And now we have our answer. Adrian Dittmann is a real person. Adrian Dittmann's real name is actually Adrian Dittmann. And Adrian Dittmann is a young 20-something that has very, very wealthy parents, that lives in Fiji, that is living off of mommy and daddy, as kids with too much time on their hands are prone to do. And Adrian Dittmann is just really obsessed with Elon Musk. And that's all it is. And we know that because The Spectator outed him. The Spectator found him. And so now the mystery is solved. He does actually have some financial ties to Tesla, which we knew. Here he is with his family. His family works with the government in Fiji on some stuff. So that's Adrian Dittmann, guys. That's it. It's not Elon Musk. The mystery has been solved. And I do think now we can dispense with this, because the only reason that people were really listening to Adrian Dittmann in the first place is because they thought he might be Elon Musk. And so now we know he's not Elon Musk. And now we can take all of his power away from him, because that was really all he had. So it will be interesting to see what else comes out about Adrian Dittmann now that we actually know exactly who he is. And I mean, I thought he was going to be older. I'm sorry, that was my big surprise. I really didn't expect him to be a 20-something, although it does make sense because he does have rich parents. His parents have a lot of business dealings. And so it kind of makes sense from that perspective. I do still think, and I'm very serious about this, I do still think this person is a narcissist and possibly either psychopathic or sociopathic. I'm serious about that. And so I'm not having anything to do with this guy at all. And it'll be interesting to see what happens now that he's been outed. But at least that mystery has been solved and we can all move on with our life. Secondly, second order of business, James posted a funny Twitter thread that, because this was Socialism Saturday, I thought you guys would like to see this. Before we get into watching actual socialists and actual communists, I want you guys to hear from James. This thread was posted yesterday. What James thinks that we're actually up against when it comes to the left. And then I want you to compare that with what we're going to watch later today. All right? So here is a thread that James posted yesterday, and I just think that you guys are going to really appreciate this. So let's talk a little bit about the thing where we've actually been fighting. If you follow me, you know I put most of it down to communism or Bolshevism, but that's an abbreviation for convenience. Communism is a 20th century thing. We're fighting a communist fascist hybrid. Oh, really, James? We'll obviously have to explain what communism, fascism, Bolshevism, and Sovietism all are to really understand the thing we're actually up against and making headway against, but let's start by pointing out that today's grand global evil is a blend of all these things. Our job today isn't just to stop communism, it's to stop communism and fascism packaged as one, although either aspect of that unicorn can be pushed to the front at any given time, like a 1-2 punch combination. The WEF and CCP are both communist, fascist hybrids on a new model. I've described this new model in a talk in which I gave a ton of names, including communo-fascism, corporate communism, corporatist communism, and at best, 21st century communism. It's a new model of communism for a new century. Another relevant term that has to be understood to get this is Degenism. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Dangism? We're going to go with Dangism. We'll go with that, which is short for Deng Xiaoping theory. Dengism is the basis for the current model in China and was developed in the 1970s and 1990s and is there in conjunction with American interests. Okay, Time for our first pop quiz. Press 1 in the chat if communists in America are just Maoists with American characteristics. Press 2 in the chat if communists in America are Marxist-Leninists who reject Maoism. Again, that's 1 in the chat if we are fighting Maoism with American characteristics in America. Press 2 in the chat if we are fighting Marxist-Leninists who fundamentally reject Mao. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Oh, you're teaching me how to pronounce Danganism? Danganism. Danganism. Thank you. I appreciate pronunciation lessons. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. I have the smartest chat on the internet. Kurt! Why are you being a contrarian, Kurt? It's because Kurt's a libertarian, that's why. 2, 2, 2. No. I don't know who you are, but no, we're not fighting Maoism with American characteristics. But you seem new to me, so maybe you don't know that yet. If you've ever listened to James, then you've been lied to. But no, we are not fighting Marxism with American characteristics. We're fighting Marxist-Leninism that fundamentally rejects Maoism. 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 2. Last time I looked at socialist Reddits, all I could find was communists hating Danganism as basically a capitulation. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So just based on, and we got friendly clips over on Rumble saying too as well, just based on the stuff we watched on Socialism Saturday, guys, we know that the majority, not all, but the majority of communists and socialists in America do actually reject Maoism because Mao is in the tradition of Stalin. They reject Stalinism because they think that Stalin basically ruined everything. They believe that Trotsky was the rightful inheritor of the Russian Revolution, and they basically want to go back and start over again and do the Russian Revolution over again because real communism has never been tried. So anything that tries to paint what we are doing in America as Maoism with American characteristics or Danganism or whatever else James is trying to shill is just fundamentally wrong based on what real communists and socialists say. So I'm not going to read the rest of this thread because it's all about some Chinese fascist thing that has nothing to do with what we're doing in America. But my God, is James saying a lot of words to not actually teach anything of value. And my God, he's influencing hundreds of thousands of people with this bullshit, which is why we continue to expose and debunk his work as the drivel that is completely unhinged from any sort of reality, and people need to stop listening to him. James has no receipts to back up what he's saying. He has no evidence. He doesn't listen to the left in the real world. He doesn't pay attention to what's going on the ground. All James has is, pinky swear, trust me, bro. I swear I'm not making this up, bro. I swear I'm not delusional because I have a head injury, bro. That's all it is, guys. That's all it is. So another day, another round of James's bullshit. Debunked. So it goes, so it goes, so it goes. All right, guys, we are going to get into the video. But before we do that, we have to go over the rules. And I want to know, are there any new people in my chat? Are there any new people who are relatively new to Socialism Saturday? If you're relatively new, please tell us that you're new. That way we can really help you kind of along with it, because when you first start watching, that's not the one I want, that's the one I want. When you first start watching Socialism with me, it can be a little bit overwhelming. It can be a little bit confusing, especially if the only thing that you've ever listened to have been conservative influencers. You might find yourself a little confused. So Richard, you're new. Welcome, Richard. We appreciate new people. Use Pixel, you are new. We welcome you. Don't worry about getting the answer wrong. Guys, if I ever ask you pop quizzes and you don't know the answer, if you get the answer wrong, don't feel too bad about it, because this is a learning experience. We all get things wrong every now and again, and that's totally cool. So use Pixel. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Todd, welcome. I appreciate your support over on Twitter, Todd. Thank you so much. So we do have some new people here. You're new, Earl, but catching up fast. Welcome, 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 welcome. We appreciate you guys. So in order to get the most out of this experience, I do have rules and guidelines that I lay down for Socialism Saturday, so please allow me to introduce those, and I ask everyone to kind of take it all in. Let me just get those up on the screen. Where is it? There it is. The rules and the guidelines. This is a class and a research group. We do take this seriously. Now, it's not to say we don't have fun in the chat. It's not to say we can't joke. It's not to say we can't make lighthearted comments. All that is good. It's not to say you can't have a beer or so while you're watching the stream. I may even start drinking at some point. But I do want everyone to know that we do take this seriously. I already banned one person for shitposting in my chat and not listening. The reason that is that this is a class. You have walked into a class. I am the teacher of the class, you are the students in the class, and I need you to really view it in that way. This is my classroom. The chat is where we are processing information, where we're suggesting ideas, where we're talking about the content. If you're shitposting like an unhinged hooligan in my chat, that diminishes the experience for everyone. So please keep that in mind. Rein in your nonsense. We don't want to see it here. Number 2, don't be a dick. Do not insult me. Do not insult other people in the chat. I can say whatever I want because you are in my house, but I promise you, if you're not insulting me, if you're not insulting other people in the chat, if you're not behaving like an unhinged retard, then you're not going to have any trouble from me. It's really, really that simple. Number 3, no whining. If I ask you to stop doing something, just stop doing it. I don't want to hear whining. I don't want to hear complaining. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear, I'm not doing that thing you asked me to stop doing, because you are doing that thing I asked you to stop doing, because if you weren't doing it, I wouldn't have asked you to stop doing it in the first place. So no whining. I don't have children for a reason. I'm not going to make children of my chat. You are all adults. You're all choosing to be here. I expect you to behave like adults. Number 4, and this is the most important thing. Please listen to what is being said. The purpose of spending all this time listening to real socialists, real communists on the internet is that we are actively listening to what they're saying in order to break down their ideology, break down the language they're using, decoding the language, making this accessible to everyone. If you are just engaging in nonsense or not paying attention or just complaining in my chat, that means you're not listening to what is going on. If you have questions at any point, everyone is allowed to ask questions that are related to the content or even maybe that are tangential to the content. I allow that too sometimes. Questions are fine, but we need everyone to be listening to what's being said. As a part of listening, I respectfully request that people please refrain from debunking. No debunking. What do I mean by that? Don't socialists know that they're all going to starve? Don't socialists know that capitalism isn't real? Don't socialists know that real socialism has never been tried? Why don't socialists go live in a socialist country? Why are socialists engaging in capitalism if they're trying to abolish capitalism? Okay, we have heard all the debunks. They don't work. If debunking was all that was required to fix this and solve this and beat back this ideology, it already would have been solved. So I need you to refrain from your debunking, your urge to do that. Refrain from owning the libs, because every single ounce of energy that you spend on debunking them is an ounce of energy that you're not spending on listening to them. Number 5, I don't like banning people, but if you're breaking the rules in my chat and you're not listening to what's being said and you're engaging like an unhinged retard, we will put you on the bus to Retardia. We will banish you to the woods, and we will take away your ability to chat at all. Okay? So those are the rules. I run a type ship, but please know that I do things the way I do them for a reason, and it's to make this an enjoyable experience for everyone. Hey, Gay Carpenter, thank you for becoming a member of my YouTube channel. I really do appreciate the support, bro. With that said, oh God, you're making me do this? Teacher, please provide the socialist definition of capitalism for the new people. Of course, I may have to repeat it later. Okay, is everyone ready? Is everyone ready? The socialist definition of capitalism is private property ownership. When socialists say they want to abolish capitalism, they mean they want to abolish private property ownership. Private property means your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own an apartment rental that you rent out as a landlord, your ability to own intellectual property, your ability to own a business, whether that private business be big or small. Your parental rights over your children are considered to be a form of private property. Your individual liberties are considered to be a form of private property. This is all bourgeois property, property that you can use to create personal, individual, privatized wealth. Whereas things like personal property, your phone, your computer, things like that, that's not included in private property because it's not things that you can use to build up individual wealth. So please keep that in mind as we make our way through this adventure. Elena, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I just finished watching a podcast covering the British grooming grape gangs, and I'm sure I saw Andy No in the chat. You probably did. Andy No's been covering that for a really, or in the audience. Yeah, you probably did. Andy No's been covering that stuff for a really long time. Like, it's kind of sad, isn't it? Like, the grooming and the gang stuff that's been going on in the UK, that's been going on for a long time. That got coverage years ago. I remember that being covered years ago, but of course it takes Elon Musk tweeting about something for people to actually pay attention to it. So I just think that's sad. How is the term enclosure related to property ownership? What I have no idea. That's not a term that I hear socialists say, so I have no idea. But maybe we'll find out. Maybe we will find out. Where did you hear that term? In what context did you hear that term? Let me know. Let me just get my total updated. There we go. Cranking on the super chats today, which I always do appreciate it. Yeah, nothing was done about the grooming gangs, but isn't that sad? Anyway, let's get into our video, guys. Please make sure you have mounted the like button for me. Mounting the like button lets YouTube know to recommend my content to more people. We are watching How to Transform Capitalism into Socialism. And let me just make sure I got all the super chats. I did. All right, let's get this party started.
The problem with base building, the problem with rank and file strategy, even when it's not about the Democratic Party, it is about the Democratic Party. Meaning, it's the idea is, well, we need a new party because the Democrats aren't good enough, or we need to shore up the base of the Democratic Party. And in so doing, maybe we'll change the Democratic Party.
Welcome to the Control Zone again. With me today, as always, is the last Marxist, everyone's favorite track coach, resident genius, Chris Catrone. Chris, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Doug.
Yeah.
Enclosure means a term related to animal ownership. Animal ownership is not something that they would consider to be bourgeois property. It's not something that you can use to create private, individualized wealth. So they don't care about that. Okay, it doesn't mean a private space. I don't know what that means. Is it about animal ownership or is it about a private space? Because now there's two different guys, this is why definitions are so important. There are two different definitions in the chat, so people have different ideas about what that means. So I don't know, because I don't know what the definition is.
Today we're going to talk about sublation and dialectics, but through the context of your essay in the Marxism and Politics book, which is called Against Dogmatic Abstraction. That piece is about understanding the split between anarchism and Marxism, how you make a case for Marxism being an advance beyond anarchism. When I was younger, much younger, just starting out on the left,
okay,
I knew some people who
let me make the enclosure argument really fucking easy. I have been watching the radical revolutionary far left almost every single day of my life for over 3 years. I have literally never heard them using the term enclosure. So maybe the term exists somewhere back in the bowels of some Marxist philosophy paper. I have no idea because we don't read Marxism here. We listen to what real leftists say in the real world. But if real leftists are not saying it in the real world, then they don't care about it. So I have never heard the term enclosure in a socialist training that I can remember. I don't think many other people in the chat that have been watching socialism with me for years have ever heard that term. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So now we've made it really, really easy. And now everyone is going to stop talking about the topic. Do you know why you're going to stop talking about the topic? Because it has nothing to do with the content that we're watching. Is everyone on board? Okay? It's unrelated. We need to move on. Thank you for the question. I do appreciate it. But when we continue to harp on things, just a sidetrack. Exactly. Focus.
Were socialists who were trots, part of socialist action. And I was the anarchist that would show up. And one of my friends said, well, he's our conscience. He's supposed to be, he's the ultra leftist here. And the socialist action people would always say, he's conservative. No, he is not. He is not to our left. But I guess the question I have for you is, how do you understand the difference between anarchism and Marxism in terms of dialectics, or this sort of the Hegelian core of Marxism?
Right. So, of course, anarchism predates Marxism.
Right.
And anarchism is part of the greater socialist or communist movement of the 19th century that Marx had as his critical object. Now, interestingly enough, and I know that you've talked with Spencer Leonard about this, Proudhon, who is the father of anarchism, considered himself a follower of Hegel. And in that respect, Marx engaged a critique of Proudhon was...
Hey, Richard, you're new. You're new. So, Richard, no offense, bro, but because you're new, you shouldn't be offering opinions right now. And you should not be clarifying anything I'm saying. You are a new student that's walked in and sat down in my classroom, and all of a sudden you're teaching the teacher of the class what's what? No, bro. I've been teaching the class for over 3 years. You just showed up. Let's just break down what Richard's saying. To be clear, socialism and communism are not the same thing. Well, we do treat them as the same thing. Do you want to know why we treat them as the same thing? Because real socialists and communist activists refer to themselves in the same sentence as socialists, communists, and Marxists. So real socialists and communists in the real world refer to themselves as those same things. So it's not about whatever the philosophy is. We are not talking about the philosophy here. We are talking about what real world activists say. There are forms of socialism which do not advocate for the abolition of capitalism. Completely false, bro. Completely false, completely made up, not grounded into reality at all. All socialism is the transitory mechanism to capitalism. So that is just completely untrue. And I don't give a flying fuck what goes on in Europe. Do you want to know why? I'm an American. So no offense, Richard, but if you're going to walk into my classroom and sit down at a desk in my classroom and then try to teach me what's what, you got to do better than that, bro.
Similar to and combined Marx's critique of the young Hegelians and also of the sort of more radical bourgeois political economy of the early 19th century, and other tendencies in socialism and communism that predated Proudhon. So, Marx sees in Proudhon like the birth of proletarian socialism as opposed to bourgeois socialism. And that's less of a class sociological characterization than it is a historical characterization, meaning Proudhon for Marx was the most up-to-date expression of socialism and communism in his time. And that's why he really kind of disciplined himself around the critique of Proudhon. Now, that being the case, of course, Marx did what he usually does, is, he did basically accuse Proudhon of failing to be as dialectical as Hegel and as bourgeois political economy itself was. So, this is a theme of mine, kind of pedagogically. But I also think that it gets to the heart of the matter, the substance, that Marxism is based on the critique of socialism or communism. and that socialism and communism are seen as an expression of capitalism, as an ideology of capitalism.
Interesting.
As riven with the same self-contradictions in subjective ideology and political practice, subjective both theoretically and practically, as capitalism is objectively in social reality. So it's the subjective and the objective, right? So
yeah. Let me just ask
Go ahead.
a clarifying question. So,
Richard, let's go back. You were asking a question? To be clear, socialism and communism are not the same thing. These are forms of socialism which do not have a That's not a question, Richard. Don't fucking lie. That's not a question. That was a statement, and you were trying to, and don't bullshit a bullshitter. Your role is to sit down and to listen. And if you have questions that are related to what we're watching, you need to listen. I have now had to ask you twice. This is your first time here, bro. I've asked you twice. You're not off for a good start. Did you skip over the part where I said our job here is to listen?
One of the ways in which I understand Marx to be critiquing anarchists like Proudhon is that he is pointing out that they tend to, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but that they tend to remain at the level of subjectivity, on the level of individual consciousness, perhaps, more than they ought to, and rather than looking to the way in which social cooperation is structured by, say, labor time or
right. There are many ways of thinking about this problem, right? Which is that on the one hand, of course, Marxists consider pre-Marxian socialism to be backward, meaning a phenomenon of a historical lag in consciousness. That it's in that sense, again, what I mentioned earlier about bourgeois and proletarian being historical rather than sociological categories. So ironically enough, even though Marx considered Proudhon to be the first sort of clear expression of proletarian socialism as an ideology, he also, at the same time, considered Proudhon to be a petty bourgeois socialist. Now, what does that mean? It means that the discontents of the working class in capitalism are petty bourgeois in nature, meaning there's the haute bourgeois and there's the petit bourgeois. There's the sort of top dog bourgeois and there's the lower subordinate bourgeois. And the workers are the lower stratum of bourgeois society, as opposed to the capitalists who are the higher stratum of bourgeois society.
True.
So the workers, in their trade union consciousness, to use a term from Kautsky and Lenin and Luxemburg, are petty bourgeois. Collective bargaining is petty bourgeois. Right. This is the tricky part, because otherwise we might get into, a lot of confusion right off the bat. And what Marx said about Proudhon, and in this way he's critical of Proudhon, but also defends Proudhon, that Proudhon's sort of individualistic critique is the complement of a more collectivistic critique, which Marx and Engels didn't want to throw in with either. They said, we're against the barracks socialism of the collectivists, or we're also against this petty bourgeois individualistic socialism and communism of Proudhon and others, but basically what we associate with anarchism. So the Marxists will say, the anarchists are liberals and they're petty bourgeois and they're individualists and this and that. Well, we have to distinguish between a kind of like pejorative, like polemical characterization and an actual like analysis or dialectical critique.
Right.
Right?
Yes, right.
There's a big difference there. And one of the problems that we deal with Marxism is that there's a conflation of the propagandistic and the rhetorical and the actual theoretical and critical.
Right. Well, in my flat-footed way, when I would critique Proudhon, it would be on the basis of his economics, the way in which he thought you could overcome inequalities and contradictions in society through various fixes having to do with real.
The best way, we don't actually usually hear the term petit bourgeois, but just for people who might not be familiar with that term, the best way to understand the difference between the bourgeois and the petit bourgeois, petit means little in French. And so the bourgeois are going to be your big, wealthy business owners, captains of industry, large corporations, banks, that sort of thing. The petit bourgeois, small capitalists, are like middle class, small business owners. They work for themselves. Maybe they own like a little shop or something like that. They're considered to be bourgeois, but they're obviously not considered to be like Jeff Bezos sort of thing. So that's really the difference between the two. The bourgeois are extremely wealthy, extremely powerful. The petit bourgeois are more of like the everyday people that participate in capitalism. Does that make sense to everyone?
Realizing labor value fairly rather than overcoming
through mutual cooperation of the working class. So there is this idea that the working class can defeat capitalism by withdrawing from the state and also by withdrawing from capitalist employment. So
being
there is a way in which
everyone their own entrepreneur in a way, right?
In a way, but not so much at the individual personal, like individual human being level, but more at the level of, okay, some workers get together and start a company rather than being hired by a capitalist.
Like a co-op.
Right. And
so the individual firm is also a category of individualism in capitalism.
To kind of the worker co-op,
worker co-op. And, and again, the issue is, look, society is both individual and collective in character. So it's about the relation of the individual and the collective. So we shouldn't naturalize or hypostasize or reify this antinomy or opposition between the individual and the collective. That's a phenomenon of capitalism that on a certain level just doesn't make sense. Capitalism is it's both and neither individual and collective authentically. It's rather individualistic and collectivistic in a one-sided and reified way, right? So capitalism is dominating us in a way that is both expressed through individualism and through collectivism. Both of those are basically oppressive phenomena or aspects. And so again, it's kind of like, well, you have the collectivistic communists and you have the individualistic communists, aka anarchists. Right. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what do you do with this phenomenon? The phenomenon of a proletarianized working class that is discontented with and trying to mount a social and political movement against capitalism, but that is divided between individualists and collectivists. What do you do with that? Right? So Marx and Engels are like, well, we have to encompass both and give in to neither.
Right. And so and to be really dialectical, when you start to realize he's not saying, oh, every human being is their own entrepreneur, but workers collectively can form firms and create businesses and practices that will break from the capitalist class, you realize that even for Proudhon...
Okay, that's interesting. So they're saying that, like... They're saying that the formation... I'm trying to figure out... Like, I might have to listen to that again. Like, workers can form businesses or organizations that are separate from the capitalist class. So think things like worker co-ops. Think things like collectivist groups. Think things like mutual aid and that sort of thing, where they're raising money for people.
There's a collectivist or collective
absolutely
aspect,
of course there
right?
is. And anthropology,
right? So it's not so much that he didn't have a view of the problem on the scale of the collective and thought everything was just a matter of their subjective attitude, but rather that from a Marxist perspective, his understanding and model of the collective reality was
Inadequate.
untrue, inadequate.
Inadequate. In other words, but the other point would be that actually Proudhon's critique of capitalism is that it is kind of antisocial, individualistic, etc. That Proudhon.
Capitalism is antisocial. Capitalism is individualistic. Capitalism allows individual people to accumulate personal wealth that is privatized to just them. It takes resources out of the collective. That's why it's antisocial. It's about maintaining you and only you and the people that you choose to give your money to, rather than resources being available to the collective.
His critique of liberalism and a kind of liberal utilitarianism, he called it the philosophy of misery, or the miserable philosophy. What is it? Thomas Carlyle called economics the dismal science. For the same reason, which is that you're kind of taking people, you're taking the kind of self-interested, selfish individual, and you're kind of taking your view of society from that perspective. And it's a miserable perspective, because what about the fact that we are always social and cooperating, etc.? I mean, that's Proudhon's point. Right. And Marx is like, well, let's look at that. And it's not that he's saying that Proudhon, isn't really a collectivist or a cooperativist. He is. Obviously, he is. But that even his critique of capitalism as individualistic is individualistic. That's the other twist of the dialectic. Right?
Say a little more about that. How so?
Well, because again, it's based on a notion of bourgeois social relations that, again, the notion is naturalized, it's anthropologized.
Richard, again, you're new. I'm going to be very honest with you, you're new. This talk is a little bit difficult to follow, to not only because of the constant use of highly technical language, but also because of the name-dropping of academics. This is every socialist talk in the history of socialism. This is every socialist video. You have Richard, you've walked into a foreign language class. If I didn't make that clear, maybe I should. You have walked into a foreign language class. This class is not being conducted in English. This class is being conducted in the language of socialist. The reason that you do not understand it is because you are listening to another language. You might be confused because it sounds like English, but they're not speaking English. They're speaking socialist. It is their own language. It is their own dialect. And when you're new to learning the topic of when you're new to learning the socialist language, think of if you didn't speak French at all, and you just plopped yourself in the middle of France. And then all of a sudden, everyone's speaking French around you, and they don't speak English, they're speaking French. It's going to feel overwhelming. It's going to feel like you don't know what's going on and you can't follow it. That's because it's your first day in France, bro. But what we need you to do, and this is why I harped so strongly on you earlier, that your role right now as a new person is to listen and to ask questions. What we need you to do is exactly what I've been trying to explain to you, which is to listen and to ask questions. So you saying, this is difficult to follow because of reason X, Y, B, and Z, that's not a question. Do you have questions about the language that they're using? What are your questions? What are you finding difficult to follow? If you tell us what you're finding difficult to follow, we can break it down for you and explain it to you, okay? But you need to understand where you are. It takes people months to learn the language of socialist. It takes people, typically in my chat, anywhere from 3 to 6 months to become fluent in this language. So, I'm going to stress again, questions are going to be your friend. They're not your enemy, and you have yet to ask a single question. Are they talking about? I think so. SJW land over on Rumble, but I'm not sure. It honestly doesn't really matter. Honestly, what matters is the ideas.
Right. This is why you get anarcho-primitivism. That's why you get like David Graeber, the dawn of everything. Right. It's like, okay, in what way are we like violating human nature? And we've been doing it for thousands of years. And it's like, come on. You know, like, no, this is human nature. And it doesn't mean human nature is red in tooth and claw. And
Proudhon is very influential with anarcho-communists. Well, that makes sense because they're talking about the difference between anarchists and, I guess, socialists, which they think are different for some reason. I have some of his works to learn about left libertarians. Michael Malice has a good... That's really helpful, Milo. Thank you. Appreciate that. Conservative Kittyland over on Rumble says, so they are using English words, but they have different meanings. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They have different meanings for the words. This is why I'm always harping on the definitions of the terms, because they may use the same language as you. They're using the same vocabulary. They're not using the same dictionary. The definitions are all that matters. And by the way, guys, they control the definitions. You don't. They control the definitions because they control the institutions. They literally control what's printed in the dictionary, not these two specifically, but the left in general. So their definitions are all that matters.
that it's the war of all against all. That does. You see, this whole notion, is human nature selfish or is it altruistic? This is all an ideological projection of the contradiction of capitalism.
What I recall is that Proudhon was very focused on currency and the question of silver and gold and trying to break away from the centralized banks and trying to develop.
Certainly Graeber is following Proudhon in treating money as the problem. But then the question is, how is that? And how is that made possible? And then quickly you come to the state, right? That the state uses money as a technology for enslaving the people.
Right. Whereas when I read Capital and started my trek down into Marxism, I was taught that money is actually an expression of the true mediating structure in society, which was labor time, and that that no matter what you decided to use to represent money, whether it was gold or silver,
or paper, it doesn't matter,
or paper.
Right? Otherwise, you're gonna end up becoming a gold bug.
Right. It would always end up with some of the same tendencies, which money would tend to concentrate. This power would concentrate along with it. Because
that's accumulation and centralization of capital. I mean, so here's, this is the other dialectical twist. Labor only attains to its concept in capitalism. And money only attains to its concept in capitalism.
Right. I know what the second one means. Explain the first. Money only attaining to its concept.
Richard.
From my way of thinking.
No. You're not listening. You are not doing what I have asked you now 3 times to do. But they are, so now I'm going to start mocking you because now you're breaking my fucking rules. But they are speaking English. No, they're not. Hey, Richard, do me a favor. How does the left define capitalism? Can you remind me in the chat, since you're the expert in everything and we're the expert in nothing according to you? How does the left define capitalism? Remind me in the chat, go. Because someone in the chat told me to say this earlier, knowing that I would have to repeat myself, knowing that people like you wouldn't listen. How does the left define capitalism? We'll wait for your answer in the chat. What I mean is they could simply use language that is more accessible to the public. Why are you expecting these people to speak in your language, bro? Why are you expecting these people to accommodate you? What does that mean? You do a lot. You do that a lot. You explain things. They assume prior knowledge. This is their fucking group. Why am I being made to yell at the beginning of this stream by a new person? Why isn't that new person just sitting his ass down and listening to what is being said and listening to the instructions that he has been given? This is their language. This is their subculture. You, Richard, are not in their subculture. You have walked right into a room and you don't know what's going on, and you are trying to dictate to everyone else what is going on when you have no fucking idea. They have no obligation to adapt their language to you. So either you're going to sit down and shut up and listen and start asking questions, which I have now asked you to do 3 fucking times, or the next step that's going to happen, Richard, is you're going to be put on a 24-hour ban from my chat, which means you are going to have no fucking choice but to sit down and shut the fuck up and listen, or you're going to leave. Right now, you have the ability to ask questions. If you don't start actually doing what I'm telling you to do in my classroom, because remember, you're in my fucking classroom right now, and you continue to disobey. So now the teacher's going to get really fucking upset. You're either going to sit down and do what I tell you to do, or we're going to take away your ability to speak. U.S. started adopting socialist policies in the 30s. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you, and why are you disrupting my class? Who the fuck are you, and why are you disrupting my class? Because anyone that actually listens to me knows that I talk about the fact that the Frankfurt School came to the Columbia University in the 1930s, and that is when they started implementing socialism in the United States. So who the fuck are you, and why are you disrupting my class? Oh, bro, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. We're not talking about Maoism. So, you can take a time out, bro. Why are we entering into retardia in my chat already? Why? Why? We are 16 minutes into this. We have over an hour to go. Apparently, people aren't even listening to what's being said. Should I just stop the stream already? One, if I should just cancel the stream and go do other things, I've already met my super chat goal. Should I just cancel the stream and just go do other things that are going to be more productive? One in the chat if I should just end the stream because no one's fucking listening. 2 in the chat if you would like people to shut the fuck up and I should keep going. Okay. Okay. Seems to me that people want to continue the stream. So we'll keep going. But I laid out the rules at the beginning of the chat, and I expect people to follow the rules. If you, again, and I want to make sure this is very clear, if you have questions, and I'm emphasizing the term question, if you have questions about what is being said, that is appropriate to say in the chat. If you have comments about what is being said, directly in the video, not your own pontifications about whatever socialism is, that is appropriate to say in the chat. If you would say it if you were sitting in a real world classroom, and I'm the teacher in the class and you are the student in the class, then it is appropriate to say in the class. If your comment does not fall into one of those 3 categories, then it is not appropriate and it is not welcome. You are in a fucking classroom. Act like it.
Means that money as the primary means to provide subsistence for the majority of people only truly arises through capitalist forms of production, and that
right. And we have to be careful what capitalism is, right? So again, the difference that I always maintain between bourgeois society and capitalism, because at another level,
what is it?
One would say, well, in fact, labor attains to its concept in bourgeois society, and money attains to its concept in bourgeois society, meaning starting in the Renaissance, you get a commercial society, etc. And that actually capitalism violates both the principle of labor and the principle of money. That's why there have been money crises ever since the Industrial Revolution, that Proudhon is picking up on. But again, kind of misattributing cause and effect, right? What's the effect and what's the cause? What's the nature of the evil? And I would say that attaining to its concept, this Hegelian notion, this bizarre dialectical notion,
Bizarre.
means that it's contradicting itself. When something attains to its concept, that means that it's achieved full self-contradiction and is in need of overcoming itself or sublating itself.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything.
Right. And would you agree that when money is the means for self-subsistence for the majority of people on the planet, that at that moment money comes into contradiction with itself?
I don't think that it has to do with that. I think it has to do with the dynamics of history. Okay. Meaning a small population, relatively speaking, of the human race could become, completely mediated by a money economy. And the historical significance of that is far-reaching. So we don't have to wait until, it's kind of like we don't have to wait for the majority of humans to no longer be subsistence peasants, which only happened in our lifetime, Doug.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
We don't have to wait for that for bourgeois society to be reality.
Okay.
Be the totality, in fact.
As a reminder, the left wants to get rid of all money. They also want to get rid of all banks.
And the reason that it's the totality is that it's the driving dynamic of history to which everything is subject. It's the vortex into which everything is being drawn. And
I think the reason I wanted to say that was the moment was because it was the moment when money was totalitarian, when money completely dominated society. But there are societies within society, right? And now we have a global, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like when Marx, is looking at England as his case in the 19th century, and yet there are still more domestic servants and individual farmers than there are factory workers.
Right.
Right? And that doesn't matter. It's not about human populations. It's about the dynamics of history. It's not about the majority of people. It's about what's driving society.
Right. Right.
And, now, again, this is all very peculiar because when people think of totality, they think spatially, they think numerically, right? They don't think temporally. They don't think historically. And, we are living, we will always be waiting for capitalism to fully realize itself. And it will always seem that capitalism fully realized itself a long time ago and that we're no longer living in capitalism, but we're in some kind of post-capitalist
This guy is smoking too much weed is what's going on.
From which there's no escape. Right? And that's the dialectical point as well, which is that how do we overcome a moving contradiction from within that contradiction and as part of that contradiction? There's no outside of it. Right? So that's the other thing. When we think of contradiction, we think of either or. That's not Hegelian contradiction at all. Right? We think of like competing logics or something, like this logic versus that logic contradict each other. No. Right? Otherwise, we're going to be in like, I don't know what, the economy versus the life world or something, Yeah. Right? And it's like, no. That's not the point. Right? The point is that at no point is everything capitalist, and yet everything is capitalist. Right.
Yeah, because at no point is everything capitalist numerically or spatially, but from a very early period, capital dominated and drove our society.
Historical development. Yeah. And so I think that's the hard part. And I think that, to get back to the Milstein for a moment, right? Because I think that...
Oh, Richard. You just look at this. And this is why we don't tolerate the bullshit of people in the chat. Your style of communication is highly off-putting. You're an adult, start acting like it, or else have fun with your 80 viewers. The numbers will never grow, and rightfully so. Hey, Richard, do you know that I've made a living, probably making more money than you do, for like 3 years, teaching this way on the internet? So my audience is doing just fine, bro. My audience is doing just fine. My audience likes it when I slap down people who are obviously not here to learn, to let them know that their bullshit will not be tolerated here. Are we supposed to tolerate you yelling and screaming? Well, guess what, Richard? Guess what? There is no one else on the internet doing deep dives into the socialist and communist left like I am. So you can go and avail yourself of all the other resources on the internet that exist of people doing this, of which there are none. You're a bunch of sociopaths! That's honestly how I view you, Richard. 1 in the chat if you're on my side, 2 in the chat if you're on Richard's sides. Let us know. Let us know. 1 in the chat if you're on my side, 2 in the chat if you're on Richard's side. Let us know. Let us know. Every week we have to make an example of someone. Every single fucking week. Every single... Well, that's your voice, Richard. That's yours. That's you. That's literally what you're doing. Let's see. 1 in the chats if you're on my side. 1, 1, 1. 1, 1. Richard couldn't stop acting like a baby. He couldn't just follow instructions. Literally, the only instruction I gave was to sit your ass down and shut up and start listening. Couldn't do it. Richard couldn't do it. 1, 1. No, Richard, that's you. You're the one who couldn't shut your fucking mouth and start listening. You're the one who couldn't do it, Richard. You're the one who was completely incapable, because you're massively thin-skinned, to shut your mouth and listen to what was going on. Richard, the instructions I gave you were very, very clear. All you had to do was ask questions. That's it. That's it. All you have to do was ask questions. Great, Gay Carpenter, I'll get to your question in a sec. 1. Yeah. Yep. Yep. I'm surprised I haven't been called. I mean, that it still stands. Oh, look. He's a Lindsay stan! What distinguishes me, Richard, is what you would have found out had you sat down and shut your fucking mouth and actually listened. What distinguishes me is I have real-world evidence. James Lindsay doesn't. So, 1, 1, 1. Not a single person is on Richard's side because Richard is the one having the massive hissy fit meltdown in the chat right now. Richard is going to be banned shortly because Richard is now breaking a cardinal rule in my chat, which is he's being a dick. Literally a dick in this case. Literally a dick in this case. 1, 1. No crying. No crying. At least he didn't lose it on his audience. Are you crying, bro? Are you crying? Are you crying? Richard, I'm very sorry. As entertaining as this is for all of us, you're now getting banned in my chat. You're just too insufferable to be here. Goodbye. 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 Why these people think they have to throw a temper tantrum on their way out? Yeah, I mean, all of them. And this is why. We need to filter these people out very, very quickly. We need to filter out the people who just aren't interested in actually learning very, 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 very quickly. Yeah, yeah. Every time, it all comes from the same place. Every single time. Hey, Rhino over on Rumble, thank you for the super chat, and Rhino is on my side as well. It's a shame. This is like a really complicated presentation, and we're trying to pay attention to it, and I'm having people have hissy fit meltdowns in the chat because they can't just shut the fuck up and listen. My God. Let's see. Gay Carpenter, I have a question that's on this topic. True socialists believe money and the exchange of goods is a 1600s concept, regardless admitted. It's not necessarily that it's a 1600s concept. They believe that money is like, I mean, they want to abolish money. They don't want money to exist. They believe that money gives the capitalist, the bourgeois class control over everyone. So I wouldn't say they believe it's a 1600s concept, though. That's not at least something that I've heard. Yeah, this is really more of a philosophy class. I don't know if I'm digging this presentation, honestly, all that much at all. We might switch to something else. No communist gaslighting in my chat right now. No. We've already had one retard in the chat. We are not going to have another retard in the chat right now. No. Let's listen a little bit more.
There were 2 things that I noted in that article. One was the Marxism in theory, anarchist in practice formulation, which is common. It's not exclusive to her by any means.
Yeah,
It's
actually,
a common idea.
Tolkien fan, this is actually a really good way to put it. Access to money creates hierarchies. All hierarchies have to be abolished. Exactly.
The anarchists will say, they will all say, really, we have to give credit to Marx as a theorist, but not follow his political practice. Right? And now what's interesting is that, the situation we're in now, so it's January 1st, 2025, and we're in a second Trump administration, and lo and behold, 10 years later, campaign for a socialist party. All right. What does it mean to be Marxist in theory and anarchist in practice? Because in many ways,
that's what we're doing, right?
That's what we're doing. That's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I found Milstein interesting. Now, she was writing before Occupy. Before Occupy Wall Street, Zuccotti Park actually took place. However, she was already speaking in the context of the Occupy everything, the sort of coming insurrection, this kind of thing. And she was criticizing it for being like...
Just so everyone is clear, Occupy Wall Street was a fundamentally socialist movement that was led by radical revolutionary socialists and communists.
Vanguardist. Right? In that sense, elitist. Kind of voluntaristic. So she was an anarchist who was putting the brakes on anarchism and invoking Marxism to do so. And I thought, okay, that's a great entry point for me to clarify, to use this to clarify what Marxism is and isn't. Right?
So what is it?
So, again, we have to be careful. It's not like Marx's critique of Proudhon or Marxism's critique of anarchism. It's just some kind of opposition to anarchism. Right? Because in that respect, I've been thinking about this a lot because we're in this kind of neo-Stalinist kind of moment. Yeah. And, the imminence of socialism to liberalism. Right? From a Marxist perspective. And... I think that, again, rhetorically, one could get very lost because when Marx criticizes socialists as liberals, you could think, oh, see, he's like owning the libs or something. And it's like, that's not the point. The point is that they're actually insufficiently liberal.
Marx is owning the libs.
Because they're insufficiently self-consciously liberal. Right. They're not recognizing or acknowledging their imminence.
Hey, real quick, and I know I'm derailing my own stream. Is Judy here? Judy, I got something to show you if you're here. Why do they all sound like they need an injection of masculinity? They don't. They don't all sound like this. You're listening to two people right now. So this is going to be a typical conservative talking point. I don't know anything about you. I don't know what end of the political spectrum you're on, but this sounds like a conservative talking point to me. This is not how I would characterize it. I don't agree with your characterization. Well, Rude Boy, I know you're here, but I'm looking for Judy. Well, if Judy's here, so I just had to switch out the knitting needles on my project. And do you know why I had to switch out the knitting needles on my project? Check this out. Only Judy. My knitting needle broke, like the cable broke off from the actual needle. So this is how it's supposed to look. This is the part where you screw in the needle. And it actually, the wire, this has never happened to me with these knitting needles before. The wire completely broke off from the needle, like while I was knitting it. It's never happened. This is like a strong wire. It just broke off. Anyway, only the knitters will understand my pain in what I had to just fix. That might have been why I was a little punchy at Richard, but Richard was also being an asshole, so whatever. Anyway, continuing. You had that happen? I've never had it happen on this specific brand of needle. This is probably a 10-year-old. That's probably why it broke. It's like really old, but anyway.
Right, because anti-liberalism goes back, and in fact, liberalism is itself a kind of funny phenomenon of capitalism. That's why the anarchists, for example, will say that they respect classical liberalism, but not liberalism tout court, which is 19th century apologia for capitalism.
Right.
Right, they like classical liberals, but they don't like liberalism, the kind of reification of liberalism. or of liberal thought, or bourgeois emancipatory thought, or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. Can I make a digression?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my digression is this, and it's also an opportunity for me to clarify myself. So I watched two things of Zizek's. One was a short that popped up, and one was a 4-part dialogue with Yanis Varoufakis.
Are these old or brand new?
No, current. They're very recent, in fact. And the Varoufakis and Zizek, they landed on an important point, which is that they agreed the left must be based on freedom, not justice.
Okay.
Right? And I thought, okay, my ideas are having an effect.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I tell you what, yeah.
Now the other was...
It's weird. I think they are, by the way. I really do.
No, they do. No, people... I mean, Zizek has read me, of course. And Varoufakis, I'm not so sure, but probably. Because how could it not be the case after 20 years? But, it's in the air anyway. Let's just say it's in the air. And also, it's objectively true. So they didn't have to get it from me. They can discover it for themselves. It's just true. Now, the other one was the short by Zizek that I found rather unfortunate. And that points to this phenomenon of neo-Stalinism on the part of, like, ex-Zizekians, basically. We can just call them ex-Zizekians. We can say Haas, and we can say Daniel Tutt. We can say the people who are disenchanted with Zizek, that they think Zizek's a liberal. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so, again, like, they would hear Varoufakis and Zizek say it's got to be freedom, not justice, and they would say, okay, these are liberals, or these are social democrats, they're liberals, whatever. And this is the source of their pro-imperialism or whatever. Like, especially in the case of Zizek, Varoufakis has the typical, anti-imperialism and wears it very proudly as like a Greek or whatever. Now, the short by Zizek is... He starts off by saying, it's about Israel-Palestine. He starts off by saying, well, of course I agree that Hamas must be destroyed. But what Israel is doing goes far beyond that, and I don't understand what they're doing. They're generating anti-Semitism through their, genocidal violence against the Palestinians. And I thought, in fact, I know my hate watchers and my hostile audience and, my general, like, people who don't like me. I don't think that Hamas must be destroyed. I don't call for that. I don't. I just think they will be destroyed, meaning, like, after October 7th, I just thought, okay, Hamas is done. And the act itself was a kind of confession of failure on their part. And it's not like I want it or demand it or, like that whole, like the whole framework, right? So this is where Zizek was kind of proving the point of the neo-Stalinists against him, is that he was sort of jumping on board with, like, Hamas must be destroyed. And I think that Bernie Sanders said something similar, like, oh, well, of course Hamas must be destroyed. And, early on when we were having our dialogue after October 7th, and I was just saying, this is it. This will be the end of Hamas, and Israel will win this war and whatever. And then I got accused of Hasbara style, like, rhetoric. This objectivistic, like, this is just the case. And it's like, but wait, I'm not a spokesperson for the Israeli government, and I'm not saying this to demoralize people or to help bring it about or something. I just looked at the situation and I was like, yeah, they're done. And Hezbollah done. Like, they're just done, right? And, do I want it? Do I regret it? Neither, because I have no control over it whatsoever. But also, getting rid of Hamas, it might produce something worse.
What I was just about to say is that I might be for the ending of Hamas or the destruction of Hamas if it meant that it would be overturned by a people's revolution and a socialist movement where more freedom, more work, more participation in the world was going to be the outcome. But if you are going to destroy Hamas by killing them all and in instituting some sort of military dictatorship from a foreign occupying power, you're not going to really end Hamas. You might end that version of Hamas, but
wait. Look at this troll who's never been in my chat before. Christos, who the fuck are you? Let's look at your channel history, Christos. Let's look at your channel history. Christos has never commented on my channel. Why are we spending more time talking about the trolls tonight than we are actually commenting on the video? That's really my question. Christos has never commented on my channel before. America is the greatest country on earth, and people who can't think for themselves get their talking points from a 45-year-old woman with the emotional maturity of an 11-year-old and has a PhD. Richard, do you have another account? Is that what's going on, Richard? You have another account? Christos, do you have anything to say about the video? Do you have anything to say about the content that we're actually watching? Do you understand what we're doing here? Do you have anything of value to add? Do you have anything of substance to add at all, Christos? We're waiting. Do you have anything of value to add here? Or are you just here to cause problems? I hurt your feelings on some platform somewhere, and now you've decided you're just going to show me. Do you have anything of value to add here at all? We're waiting. Why should people listen to you? You have nothing of value to add. We're sitting here trying to listen to real communists and real socialists, bro. And you're here causing problems. You think I'm a simp for undermining the value of labor. Christos, are you under the impression that I'm a communist or a socialist? This is an IQ test, Christos. Are you under the impression that I'm a communist or a socialist? Are you really that fucking stupid? Are you really that fucking stupid? We're waiting. That's a yes or no question, Christos. Are you under the impression that I'm a communist or a socialist? Is that what's going on here? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That's not actually, you know what, Christos? You obviously are not even worth bantering with. Goodbye, bro. Fuck off.
Some other version was very likely to come along, I think.
So in the Varoufakis Zizek discussion, they also landed on this, on Israel-Palestine, which is that Israel needs Hamas.
Right.
And that, basically the idea that, I don't know.
I can't watch this.
The Netanyahu
I'm very sorry. I can't watch this. It's not. They're not really even saying anything interesting. This guy has been smoking way too much weed. I don't find this particularly relevant. We're gonna find something else to watch real quick because no one's really commenting on the video, and that to me tells me we are not watching the correct thing. So we're gonna go find something else to watch real quick. Let's just Let's see. What should we watch? We're not watching JoJo Siwa. I'll tell you that right now. We're not watching that. We're not watching that. That's what we were just watching. We're not watching Jared Taylor, I'll tell you that. Maybe I'll just end the stream. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it'll be that type of night. Maybe it'll be that type of night.
I don't understand how we can ultimately dismantle any of it.
Not watching that. Let's see. Let's see if Red May has anything. We're not watching that. This is not what we're going to watch. I'm just trying to get to this YouTube channel. That wasn't what I wanted to do. We're not watching the Denver Communists. We've watched them too much lately. Let's see. Sublimation video has a video about the normative family. Well, okay, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. It's on their YouTube channel. I don't know if I like this guy though, if I'm honest about it. Hang on, I'm just searching. You know, you guys can't see it. Let's see if they have a video about that. Let's watch this. Hang on. Let's watch this.
Catcalling is a form
that's gonna be
of sexual harassment.
Okay. We're gonna let that ad play if this ever loads. They have a video called The Left, the Sexual Revolution and the Family. Okay, now we're on that. What is this about? Cyber Dandy, Ashley, and Douglas discuss the history of the sexual revolution, differences between the 18th and... See, I don't want to watch this, though. This is not activism. This is pontificating philosophy. So I don't want to watch this channel. I don't like this channel. This channel is not... Like, I've never heard of these people before. This was kind of like a chance for me to get to know these people, to figure out if they're actually real activists or not. I don't think they're real activists. I think they're just people who pontificate on the internet. That's all it is. So let's go back over here. No, we're not doing Sophie tonight. We're not watching that tonight. A lot of prison stuff on this. Liberation Tarot. Do you guys want to talk about tarot cards? Socialist tarot cards. Tarot to connect with revolutionary realities. There's two. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do one of those. That's like more of like a midweek stream. This is a lot of prison abolition stuff. No PSL. I looked at the PSL the other day. Well, I guess we can go back to the Denver Communists. I guess we can do that. At least with the Denver Communists, they have short videos. Let's see. The lingering sense of Stalinism. There's Mao. That might be interesting. I sent one in the Discord about a communist gun club in Portland. Oh, I'll keep that in mind. For sure. We already watched that. We watched the Socialism Conference live, but good suggestion. We just already watched it. Let's see. Dialectics Demystified. That could be an okay one. You'll have to ask him. I haven't talked to him in a while. You'll have to ask him. Sadly. Let's do this. Dialectics Demystified.
It is essential to destroy the widespread prejudice that philosophy is a strange and difficult thing just because it is the specific intellectual activity of a particular category of specialists or professional and systematic philosophers. It must first be shown that all people are philosophers, by defining the limits and characteristics of the spontaneous philosophy which is proper to everybody. So, the task of this presentation is to, in the clearest possible terms, illustrate two things. What is the meaning of dialectics? And further, what is specifically materialist dialectics?
Okay.
We shall assume the audience has no training in philosophy,
This is
and we
actually
shall
good.
assume the audience has only loosely, sporadically talked or read about dialectics in general.
True.
In order to begin demystifying dialectical thought, which is arguably the ultimate demystifier, I would like to spend a minute or two discussing why it is so important to study and think about dialectical materialism in the first place. I would like to start with one example as a primer. Kautskias and the DSA argue for gradual, slow reform, that the conditions for proletarian power must ripen on their own. The dialectic teaches us that change happens in sudden, massive, qualitative leaps, meaning opportunists misunderstand the very manner in which change occurs. They disempower the working class, and instead of heightening class consciousness and heightening the contradictory forces at play, which we aim to do by being a class that is conscious of itself as a class, they merely leave the working class as passive receptacles to the things that happen to them, waiting on the world to change, as John Mayer unfortunately sings. Initially, we can say that the dialectical method is the active process by which we come to know reality itself, and from that can change it. A proper grasp on ideas and the dialectic can then serve as a solid, firm basis from which we can come to our principles. Principles can never be left to sheer whim or what we often call our free will. If we cannot solidly defend our ideas, what actually makes us different from the opportunists who reactively decide which principle they will wear on any given day, as if principles were no different than the clothes in our closet? To be as clear and brute as it can be, dialectical materialism serves as the way in which we must comprehend reality itself, in order to serve as a basis from which to act and to guide us in understanding our present conditions. We cannot do this by simply observing the world around us. As our comrades Harrison Fluss and Landon Frim, in their incredible article Reason as Read, stated, facts do not speak for themselves. As they argue, and so would I, we must actively comprehend facts, systematize them, and ultimately draw conclusions ourselves. Marxists have attempted to wield dialectical materialism in order to understand how things change. As Marx said, man makes history, he just doesn't know it. The point of dialectical materialism is to know how things change in order to consciously change them. The rest of this talk will draw mainly from Trotsky's ABCs of materialist dialectics, and though it was not assigned, I do use a little bit of Engels' socialism, utopian and scientific. I will do my best to summarize and introduce the idea of dialectics and material dialectics, but please note that dialectical thought is something hard fought through study and debate. It is not ready-made. I cannot tell you, here is the great dialectical formula from above which will unlock the mysteries of the universe.
Hang
and
on.
neither has this ever been.
Got a question. Has the socialist focus on ownership of the means of production shifted to the ownership of knowledge production? Oh, it's even worse than that, bro. Your mind is about to be blown. This seems to be taking place in academia. Pop quiz for the chat. When socialists say the means of production, what do they mean? Because it's not the factories. It may have been the factories a long time ago. It's not the factories anymore. When socialists say the means of production, what do they mean? What is class consciousness? Class consciousness means becoming aware that you are part of an oppressed class that's oppressed by capitalism. When socialists say the means of production, they mean the people. The people. They mean you. The people, the people. You are the means of production they want to control, not the machines. The family, the people. When they say the means of production, they mean the people. Just like Soylent Green, they mean the people. You. They mean the people. The people are the means of production. The reason we say the people are the means of production is because one of the things that socialists want to abolish, one of the things that they have to abolish in order to get to their Marxist utopia, is the nuclear family. They talk about this all the time. Everyone knows that, right? They want to abolish the nuclear family. They want to abolish the nuclear family. They want to abolish the nuclear family. Why do they want to abolish the nuclear family? Why do they have to abolish the nuclear family in order to get to the Marxist utopia? They believe they have to abolish the family because of something called social reproduction theory, which means social systems will reproduce themselves until they are disrupted. In regards to the nuclear family is literally the means of reproduction of capitalism. The nuclear family reproduces capitalism. The nuclear family perpetuates capitalism. When they say they want to control the means of production, they're not talking about the factories. They're not talking about the machines. They believe that capitalism is a cultural model. This is not an economic, well, it is an economic model too, but more importantly, it's a cultural model, and they believe that they need to control the people, control the means of production of capitalism in order to get what they want. And we have them on video saying this. So, yeah, so welcome. Hope that helped.
The case, even
now, they want the factories and the machines too. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying they don't want the factories and the machines, but you also have to remember, the time that we're living in, right? You don't need a factory in order to become a billionaire. You really don't. You don't need a factory in order to become part of the bourgeois. You don't need a heavy machinery. Like, maybe you did at one point a long ass time ago. You don't anymore. So now what are they saying when they say they want to control the means of production? Is it really just about the factories? If socialists only controlled the factories, would they get to the Marxist utopia? No. Because capitalism would still be reproduced through the social systems.
even with Hegel, that dialectical thought is a rigid dogmatic program by which everything follows the exact same steps, such that all things are reducible to a simple linear progression. I hope here you can see or hear the parallels in Menshevik and opportunist thought. I believe the miserable term thesis, antithesis, synthesis is what people think Hegel said of dialectics. He never did, not even once. Hegel, across most of his writings and lectures, stresses the importance of not making dialectical.
So are these videos an attempt to focus on the theory of... No. We're listening to the Denver Communists right now. The Denver Communists are real far-left activists. We're listening to what happens in the private meetings of the Denver Communists right now. We're listening to what real activists talk about in their private meetings. Has nothing to do with theory or not theory. We're listening to what real activists talk about in the real world.
Thought into a dead, static formula, something we can simply apply to our world without critically thinking. I would like to say that
all right,
critical thinking isn't...
Pause. We're going to have a conversation. Can we just have a conversation? For the last several weeks of Socialism Saturday, each stream has gone absolutely off the rails, with people not understanding why we're here, not understanding what we're doing, asking the same question over and over and over again, being disruptive in the chat. Do I need to come up with a completely different format to do this? I'm honestly asking here. Because this is starting to get actually really frustrating for me. Because this isn't just a one-off. This is every single week we are having the same problems over and over and over and over and over again. And every single week I have to reiterate the same things that I've been talking about for years. And if you guys think that that's fun, then here's what I want you to do. I want you to wake up And every single day, I want you to repeat the same things that you repeated the day before. Every single day for literally years. And I want you to see how much fun you have with that, because it's not fun. Let me tell you what. It's mind-numbingly frustrating. And then have the people that you're repeating those things to not listen to what you're saying and demand that you repeat them again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Now, I know there are so many people who value what I do, and I know there are so many people who value what I try to put on here. But it really, yeah, I am right now living in fucking socialist Groundhog's Day. And I want to teach this stuff, but, and I know there are so many people who value what I do, but it's starting to me to feel like I'm constantly showing up only to beat my head against the wall for 3 to 4 hours every single Saturday, and I can go and do something else. I could go have a life. I could go out to the movies. I could be hanging out, doing something fun. I could be working on my book. I could be doing any number of things. I don't know how to fix this problem. Because it's not just a one-off. It's happening almost all the time now. And to the point where I can't even focus on the presentations because people are being so deliberately disruptive. So what ideas do people have? What ideas? What ideas? Tom, we have literally talked about the Denver Communists ad nauseum on this channel. You have been in the videos where we've talked about the Denver Communists. There should be no question about why we're doing the stream we're doing, because it's the same reason that we've been doing this every Saturday for God knows how long. There is no difference. You keep showing up to these streams. Why aren't you listening? Why aren't you learning? Like, how do we make this better? No, I can't paywall it, because if I paywall it, people won't show up. I know this. I know this from experience. If I paywall it, people won't show up. So let's eliminate that as a possibility right now. That's not going to happen. How do I get people to come and watch it if it's behind a paywall? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't make sense to ignore them. Do you know why you don't ignore them, Fenderbean? Because then they get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then other people in the chat start doing it too, because they see the original people doing it and they see the original people get ignored. And so then other people start following suit of the people who are behaving badly in the first place. So no, that doesn't work. And I know that from experience as well. So how do we make this better, guys? Because I can't. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep showing up every single week and just feel like I'm beating my head against the wall. Does anyone have any ideas? I mean, I lay out the rules at the top of the stream. I feel like I'm very clear about it. I say over and over and over again, people should be asking questions. They don't listen. Yeah, like I just said, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Nope. No. Because we've tried this too. Do you know what happened when the moderators could ban people? Is they ended up banning the wrong people because they jumped the gun too quickly. So nope, that's not going to work. Okay, we've now eliminated that as a possibility. Can we move on to other suggestions, please? Well, if I don't monitor the chat, then I don't see questions. So that's not going to work. If I don't monitor the chat, then the chat descends into complete chaos because adults on the internet apparently can't control themselves like adults. So that's not going to work. No, I can't change the time. I mean, I guess I could change the time, but I'm not going to. So that's not going to work. Nope, because then people aren't going to remember the questions that they asked, so that doesn't work. I'm still new. Your channel provides insights into the minds of people I consider dangerous. Don't stop. How about a limited abilities people to chat? New subscribe. I mean, I can't control that. I don't know who's watching. I do appreciate the super chat, and I appreciate that you're new, and I appreciate that you're learning, and all that stuff. I don't know who's watching on any given day, so I can't control that. No, because I want new people to be able to ask questions. So I don't like that. I don't like having to be. I don't like that. Do I need to change the format? Do I need to just stop doing it entirely? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that I'm walking away from these streams pretty much every Saturday now feeling like my night is ruined. Because people don't listen. I'm walking away feeling like people don't listen to what's being said because I end up having to repeat the same thing over and 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 over. I just banned the person who told me I need therapy. He can go fuck right off. How dare you come in and say that? Nope, that's not going to happen. No co-facilitator, just me. I'm not wrangling other people. No offense. I'm not doing it. My ideal scenario is people show up and they listen and they learn and they ask questions and they engage with the content that's being shown instead of working out their fucking feelings in the chat. And that they listen. No, this is not going to happen. This makes no sense. It makes no sense to engage with questions at the end when most people don't stay till the end. Most people don't remember their question at the end. No, that's not going to happen. All I want, literally all I want, is to be able to sit here and to watch this content and to dissect this content and to answer questions from a chat that's behaving like adults. That's all I want. That's it. No! How many times do I have to say no? This is part of the fucking problem. Like 15 people in the chat have already recommended this. I'm literally, guys, I am sitting here saying to you that I am tired of repeating myself because people don't listen to what I'm saying. And in response to me saying, I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall every single week because people are not listening to what I am saying explicitly and clearly and in no uncertain terms, what happens? People don't listen to what I'm saying and repeat the same thing over and 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 over again, even when I'm saying no and when I'm giving you my reason for saying no. Hey, Carlin, you just gave us a whole reason for why you aren't going to do it this way, but how about you consider doing it this way? Do you understand the problem? This is driving me fucking insane. Well, that's not going to happen, Suzanne. No. And it doesn't work anyway. It doesn't work anyway when I take a break because I come back and it's the same old fucking thing that drove me insane in the fucking first place. So this is the first Socialism Saturday of the year. Literally all I wanted to do was sit here and watch a video and dissect it. That's all I wanted to do. And now we're 2 hours into the stream. We've accomplished nothing of value. There's been no learning here tonight. There's been no listening. There's been no nothing. Literally do this. I literally do this at the beginning of the stream. So that's not going to work. If I have one more person say, why don't you do a Q&A at the end of the stream, I'm going to end I'm going to end the stream anyway. Who am I kidding? I'm going to end the stream anyway. Socialism Saturday wasn't always like this. It wasn't always like this. It's too bad you can't just dictate others' behavior to your liking while you gaslight the public about how anti-communist you are. This retard is literally making the argument that I'm not anti-communist because I'm showing communists teaching what they believe. Every fucking week. Where do you want me to post the rules, Trendlin? Where do you want me to post the rules? Do you see room on the screen for that? Where exactly on the screen would you like me to post the rules? Like, I mean, come on. How do I make this different? How do I make it better? That's the conversation that we're going to have right now. The Socialism Saturday is over. How does this get better? That's not what I wanted to do at all. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to change the background. How do I make this better, guys? No, there is no way to ban new people from commenting, as I've already said. I don't think it has anything to do with the Lindsay. I don't think it has anything to do with that. Because they're not the same people. I really do wonder if this is something that people want, if this is something that people take seriously. are you fucking shitting me? I don't know what to do about this. But I can't keep doing this. I cannot keep doing these streams where I'm literally driving myself insane. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's not fun for me anymore. It's not fun to get on the internet and say exactly the same thing every single day, and definitely several times on Saturdays. I have to define the same things over and over and over and over and over again every single Saturday because people don't listen. And I'm currently in a place where I'm wondering, are people even capable of listening? Even people who've been here a long time, even people who've been in my community a long ass time, they don't listen. Is it even possible to teach this information? Is it even, I don't know. No, Daniel, I wouldn't say that. Am I hurting the class by promoting the channel on various... I wouldn't say that. But I don't know... because I appreciate all your efforts to promote it. I don't know how to bring more people in, though, if we're not promoting it. No, I will not consider doing streams just on X. That is a dumb suggestion. That's dumb. I'm sorry. That's stupid. X is censoring and banning content. X is fucking around with the algorithm. I'm not doing that. That doesn't make any sense. I also can't get anyone to even talk about this content, which tells me people aren't really interested in it. Is there even a market for people? I don't know. I don't know anymore. I once thought that there was. Maybe there will be after the inauguration. I don't know. I'm really disappointed that this is how the first Socialism Saturday of the year is turning out. And I don't know how it could have been done any differently. I really just don't know. I just don't know. I guess I could have found a different video to watch, but I wanted to watch that video because I wanted to see what it was. I tried to find different videos to watch. People wouldn't listen to those videos. It's like, you know what? But hey, we met the super chat goal, so I really do appreciate that. They're here because they want to cause problems. That's why. They're here because they want to cause problems. No, my views go up when I talk about internet drama. It's not about the right wing. My views go up when I talk about internet drama. If I wanted to make significantly more money than I make right now on YouTube, all I would do is to talk about internet drama all day, every day. Don't think I don't know how to get views. I know exactly how to get views. I just need to talk about the bullshit, simple-minded, reality TV show drama that everyone wants to talk about. That's it. That's it. No, you can't. As I have already said about 3 fucking times. You can't. Do you want to know why? Because if one person is doing that in the chat, then other people start doing that in the chat. Then it just gets all fucking out of control and no one learns anything. So no, as I've already stated 3 fucking times, at least, if not more, that doesn't work. I could just watch the fucking Thorpes every day and make more money. That's actually what people want. Only literal retards think I'm advocating for socialism. Literally. Only literal retards. And this is the other thing, too. How many retards do we get in my chat every single week going, you're a communist, you're a socialist, you're a communist, you're a socialist. They come in here to own the libs. And it's just like, you know what, man? You know what? You know what? All I wanted was to watch these videos and dissect these videos. And that was all I wanted. And I can't do that because it just keeps going off the rails. So maybe it's just not something people want. Maybe people don't want this. Maybe people just want to behave like unhinged retards on the internet. And I can't change that. I can't change if people just want to behave like unhinged retards on the internet. I can't change if people aren't interested in learning because they just want to own the libs. I can't change if people have the attention span of a fucking mouse and they can't focus, or a squirrel or whatever. I can't focus if I can't change the fact that people don't have the attention span to listen. I can't change the fact that when I define capitalism as private property ownership 15 times in a single stream, people who are on that stream still don't know what the definition is. I can't change the fact that on Twitter, I get way more views and way more retweets and way more support when I'm talking about Nick Fuentes than I do when I'm posting videos of socialist stuff. I can't control that. I can't control that when I ask people to do very basic things, when they say, oh, Carlin, we want to help you, we want to help, we want to help, but bookmarking a tweet and retweeting a tweet is just too much to ask and they don't do it. I can't control the fact that people say they really don't want me to quit, but then they forget in 2 weeks and they start doing the same old shit that led to me being like this in the first place. I can't control any of that. The conservatives have trained the base not to think but to own the left, which includes debunking and calling everyone commies. The grifters like making easy money. Yeah, and that's exactly the problem, is the grifters like making easy money, and they've created an entire fucking audience that is absolutely incapable of learning and comprehending this information. And it's just like, so what am I even doing? What am I even doing? What am I even doing? Something has to change, and I don't know what that thing is. But I'm not going to keep going like this. Well, you can just decide to take it a lot more seriously, but will you decide to take it a lot more seriously? And if you make that decision, then how long will it last? Because my experience in that is that when people, quote unquote, decide to take it more seriously, that lasts maybe a week or two, and then they stop taking it seriously after that. One suggestion about retweeting: if we quote tweet something from you, you shouldn't retweet it because then your feed. No, but that's how you get views on the original thing. That's how people build. I've seen people build massive audiences doing this, so I disagree. That's how you get more views on the original thing. You brought a ton of relief to me about this subject, but I'm not really getting you might be the only one really. I am the only one really doing this. I am the only one doing it. And isn't that, and that should tell us something, right? There's just not a market for this. If there was a market for this, there'd be more people doing it. I'm the only one doing it because there's not a market for it. I'm going to be very blunt. This is not a good day to be a new person on this stream because am I going to take you through my entire thought process? No. You know why I'm not going to take you through my entire thought process? Because you can go to my Substack and read about my thought process. You can listen to podcasts about my thought process. You can watch other videos I've done about my thought process. I'm not doing that right now. If you want to ask a question, then go ahead and ask a question. Well, then it's just time to hang it up then. We won, guys! We won! Communism is solved! Trump is in office again! It's solved! There's no more problem! Do you really think... Okay, you know what? You're banned. Goodbye. Goodbye. So I don't know. But I do know I'm not going to waste any more time for tonight. I'm going to go and work on my book. That's going to be what I'm going to do. And if you want to support the book and read the book, then head over to redmenaccollective.substack.com where you can read it. Yeah, why don't I just switch to doing drama content? That's really what I should be doing, right? Why don't I just switch to doing drama content entirely? It's what people want. Why don't I just do that? I get more views talking about drama content. I get more super chats talking about drama content. Why don't I just do that? Why don't I just do that? Yep, if the audience forgets how important it is to them week after week, then it's not really that important to them, and I should just quit anyway. Exactly. Exactly. Thanks, guys. Goodbye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you here?
That's difficult to answer.
is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.